Fresh out of college, I got a job in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or so they said, as an architect designing whatever. Ended up doing oil rigs, and one beautiful morning there were sharks going under the main platform like always, but there were 2 dead sharks. Next morning 3 new dead, then 4 the next day. Then a steady 4 or 5 a day for a week or 2. They would float up under the see-through deck that looked much like a metal colander. Crew would have to punch them down so the current could catch them with a large pole. What made it really weird was they looked like they had heart attacks or died in their sleep. No marks or bites or anything. The guys on the rig had all kinds of theories. Then one morning, while in a room that was completely submerged and had a beautiful view as we sat in a meeting, everyone got to see the reason the sharks were dying, like viewing it on a movie screen. This octopus had made itself a home between the base and the deck. A shark was swimming by in a cruising fashion, and we see these tentacles grab it right in front of the glass and snap it like a glow stick. The marine biologist smiled and said, "Octopus is literally doing that to entertain themselves. Like, because he can." The marine biologist lowered a dive camera, and this octopus was huge. The crew would joke about it thereafter. People would smoke on the deck at night, and people would say, "Don't let the octopus in." Seeing those tentacles was just insane for their length, and to think about how a shark is mostly muscle and the octopus would just snap and was kinda scary. A dear friend of mine found himself out on his boat off the coast of Western Australia, accompanied by his faithful dog and another friend. They encountered an unexpected and perilous situation when a rogue wave struck their vessel, causing it to partially capsize. This initial wave was swiftly followed by a second, ultimately sealing the fate of their boat. Despite my friend's extensive experience and unwavering caution, a series of factors came into play. They had embarked on a successful fishing expedition, their eskies brimming with the day's catch. The weight of their bounty proved to be a crucial factor in the ensuing ordeal. In a brief lapse of vigilance, my friend later admitted that he was caught off guard. He recounted how, by the time he registered the impact of the first wave, the second was upon them, and the boat succumbed to the relentless sea in less than 30 seconds. Their critical mistake lay in the placement of the emergency position indicating radio beacon, a perb, which was stored away rather than being readily accessible on their persons. This lapse left them stranded 7 kilometers offshore, vulnerable and exposed to the elements. Adding to their dire circumstances, my friend's faithful canine companion was secured to the boat to prevent any impulsive leaps into the turbulent waters. Tragically, there was no time to set the loyal companion free, and they were forced to bid a heart-wrenching farewell in an instant. It is this moment that my friend believes left the most enduring impact on him, having to witness his best friend swallowed by the unforgiving ocean, powerless to intervene. My friend, possessing robust health and a history of being physically active, was also a semi-professional free diver, intimately familiar with the ocean's ways and no stranger to hard work. In stark contrast, his companion was an average individual, unaccustomed to the open sea, with little chance of swimming back to shore. They faced a daunting decision. My friend would swim toward the shore while his companion, wisely, remained in the vicinity, conserving his strength rather than attempting a futile swim to safety. As the clock ticked away, the realization of their absence weighed heavily on the minds of their loved ones. My friend's partner swiftly activated their well-rehearsed emergency plan. She contacted the authorities, providing them with the approximate location and the expected return time. Despite their efforts, the authorities faced a challenging search in the vast expanse of the ocean. In an astonishing display of determination and sheer willpower, my friend embarked on an extraordinary journey. Over the course of approximately 5 grueling hours, he swam 7 kilometers through the open ocean to the nearest sanctuary, which, as he believes, was Garden Island, a naval base located off the coast of Perth. His strength waning, he was eventually spotted by a vessel moored on the island, becoming a beacon of hope in the vast sea. My friend provided them with the coordinates of his stranded companion, and this crucial information was promptly relayed to the authorities. In the end, what could have ended in tragedy concluded on a positive note. The authorities, armed with the new coordinates, initiated a rescue mission that successfully reunited my friend with his companion. This harrowing experience continues to leave a lasting impact on both individuals, with the memory of that fateful day ever present. Fortunately, my friend's resilience and well-adjusted nature have helped him navigate the aftermath of this traumatic incident, proving his remarkable strength of character. Was working on a paddle wheel heading north on a 7-day journey. I was sound asleep, and it was around 4 a.m. that I woke to a sudden jolt that nearly knocked me from my bunk. A split second later the emergency alarms all went off, at which I shot up so fast that I forgot that I had an AC duct over my head, smacked it so hard I put a massive dent in it. No idea how I didn't knock myself out in the process. Jumped off of my bunk and grabbed my life jacket, and was out of my room before I realized I was just in boxers. Ran back in and threw on my shorts and bolted for the deck. Once on deck I realized that it was a foggy and moonless night. People were freaking out thinking we were sinking, and us, the crew, were doing what we could to keep everyone calm, not even know that was happening ourselves. Also, the fog was so bad and the night so dark that no matter how hard we tried there was no seeing the shore or our surroundings. The freakiest part of it all was knowing that whatever we hit was absolutely massive, and no one could see a thing anywhere. The suspense at the time was driving people crazy. In the end, we were all required to stay on deck until the sunrise, and thereafter learned that we stuck a barge that was partially sunk. Oh, and then realized we were on a stretch of the Mississippi that was nearly a half-mile wide. Anyone who would have jumped and tried to swim absolutely would not have made it. My fear wasn't for my safety but for the safety of the guy on the other boat. A few years back my dad and I had just tied up as a nor'easter was rolling in. We were on one of the docks along the Long Island Sound, the part of coast adjacent to Long Island, New York, which was notorious for bad storms. I don't remember exact details of how we got into this, but turns out some guy hadn't returned to the docks, and the dockmaster, who was friends with my pops, asked him to go out looking in this horrible storm. My dad, being the thick-skulled, gung-ho adventurous man that he was, agreed to go looking in this terrible storm. Our boat could handle it. We had gone through many storms before with no problem. Our boat had 2 outriggers that served as stabilizers, so capsizing wasn't a big concern. However, the boat we were looking for was a tiny center console that was maybe 25 feet long, and to mail it better, the guy had no kind of GPS or locator on him. He didn't even have a radio. We were literally looking around in the dark for him for an hour. Luckily, as we were passing a little bay, he had the sense to grab one of his flares and fire it off after he saw our lights, and we were able to get within shouting range. Now, if that wasn't enough, this guy had really just thrown safety out the window. We shouted for him to put on a life vest. Turns out he had none on the vessel, nor did he have a life raft. To make it worse, his anchor chain wasn't a chain, but a single rotting dock line, so his anchor snapped. Coupled with the fact that the waves were slowly pushing him towards the rocky shores, he was lucky we found him. Our original plan was to attempt a tow, but the conditions were so bad we couldn't get close enough without risking a collision. We had to wait there for the Coast Guard to hone in on our beacons, since they had no way of locating this guy's boat, and they were able to retrieve him. Thankfully, his monstrosity of a boat crashed against the rocks after he had been carted away. The scary thing is that he had his 8-year-old son on the boat with him the whole time.